right, that's where we headed. The number one
Young Turks, everybody.
talk show,
Ben
don't you
Mankiewicz,
forget
Anna Kasparian here. Cenk did another MSNBC program today. What hour was he on?
He's on at 3 p.m. Eastern.
All week?
No, he was on Monday through today.
All right, so he's back.
He's back tomorrow.
All right. Always interesting news today. Lasers. Lasers are back. That's the key to our safety. We want to talk. We talked about it a little in the last hour. I do want to talk a little bit about the whore debate, and we'll mention I'll keep you updated on what's happening with Chile. It's just a great story. Like, I don't think it can be overreported. And money, man, the Republicans are raising a lot of money. It's a giant downer, but that's all right. But let's start with the lasers. No, I want to hold the lasers because I want to. No, we're gonna hold the lasers. Everybody, hold the lasers. But lasers are coming. Anna, the key to any election is
Money?
Well, that's right, and we're going to do that too. But that's actually probably a better point. But getting out the vote, which of course requires money.
Right.
And obviously you motivate your base, and the Republicans appear, so we're led to believe, more motivated. And then, November 2nd shaping up as a disaster. But obviously both sides try and get out the vote. One way that Democrats have always gotten out the vote is to go into neighborhoods where they're particularly strong, like a lot of predominantly black neighborhoods, and they've worked there and they rely on preachers to, get their flock to the polls and vote Democratic, because generally black voters traditionally have always, in this new era, have voted overwhelmingly Democratic, basically 90%, right around there. So we learned, especially during the Reagan campaign from Ed Rollins, who's a really sort of interesting, thoughtful guy now, but that Republicans would go into black neighborhoods and pay the preachers not to get people to vote.
Really?
Yeah, because if they reduce the turnout in some of those neighborhoods in selected districts, they feel like they could make a big difference. There's something particularly sinister, like somehow paying the preachers to get people out, all that makes you a little uncomfortable, but that's literally what you pay campaign workers for.
Right.
Right, they're working and you pay them and then they get people to come out to vote. Paying them not to vote is just it seems anti-American.
That's the definition of anti-American.
Yeah, right. Okay, so now you can't do that anymore because that's just a giant, well, I'm sure it's illegal, but it's a huge scandal. And for years, obviously, the right-wingers have tried to suppress the black voting. First by making it illegal, not giving them the vote, and then as we moved along, poll taxes, literacy tests, like you got to pay a tax to vote, and then literacy tests, or the deliberate confusion of when the voting day was, all these sort of attempts to to keep the black vote down. So now the new method is to win the sort of public relations campaign, the notion that there's voter fraud, that Democrats commit voter fraud. There's no evidence of this. No evidence of widespread voter fraud. Every election you can find some voter fraud, little instances of it. But they argue, as they always, Acorn, this is all about widespread, the Republicans accuse Acorn, widespread voter fraud. This is what Democrats do. Like, we talk about the fact that the election got stolen in 2000, and that there are all these giant problems with voting machines, and there's no paper trail, and the people in charge of the voting machines, like in Ohio, was the Secretary of State, who was the head of Bush Cheney, Ohio, and they had these new systems where you're like, well, how is that possible, right?
Right.
So they come back with the voter fraud.
Okay, I'm dying to know how this voter fraud worked. So
there is no voter fraud.
No, I know that there's no voter fraud, but what is their claim? What is their allegation?
Mark Kirk is a state senator in Illinois, and he's running for the Senate in Illinois, running against Alex. Now it's the fact that I'm going to mispronounce his name, Giannopoulos. Doesn't matter. He's running against a Democrat, and he's winning. It's close, though. But it's Barack Obama's seat. It's Roland Burris. Burris is the one held by Roland Burris now, the one that Rod Blagojevich is trying to sell. So he goes. He's in a private conversation with Republicans leaders last week. He talked about how he's going to fight made-up voter fraud. So let's play clip 2, and the voice you'll hear is Mark Kirk running for the Senate.
I have now funded the largest voter integrity program in the 15 years for the state of Illinois. These are lawyers and other people that will be deployed in key vulnerable precincts. For example, south and west side of Chicago, Rockford, Metro East, where the other side might be tempted to jigger the numbers somewhat.
Yeah, those are black neighborhoods. So they're going to send out these teams talk about voter integrity. Deployed in key vulnerable precincts, south and west sides of Chicago, Rockford, Metro East, where the other side might be tempted to jigger the numbers somewhat. And there have been, for now years, Republicans have fought back against the notion that they are stealing elections, which are far more plausible with this notion of widespread voter fraud. And it's an age-old conservative tactic. It's a rallying cry for conservative groups. It's clearly, if it hasn't already been embraced by the Tea Party, I guess just because they haven't sweetened their tea with it yet. And they're trying to make it more difficult to cast ballots. They would love to have voter fraud come up and keep lines and lines of people from voting by claiming it's voter fraud, or have ballots disallowed because of voter fraud. So anyway, this is very typical. It's what Mark Kirk does in Chicago, and JR, we also have a local news story about it, right? So clip. This is how it's being covered in Chicago.
For him to insinuate that there is some vote fraud going on in these communities is just an insult to the hundreds and hundreds of people to serve as election judges.
Southside Alderman, Democratic committee member, and Alexi Giannulli's supporter Fredrina Lyle and others were also offended by Kirk's use of the verb jigger in reference to those areas heavily populated by blacks, even though the Merriam-Webster dictionary says jigger does mean to alter, rearrange, or manipulate, and has been used by many politicians to describe election fraud.
The problem I have is that it sounds so much like another word.
Kirk, in a tight race with Democrat Giannullis, is offended that anyone would think he would use a word that offends African Americans.
I'm actually offended that they would say that. I think that every vote should be counted and that we need to make sure it's a free and a clean election.
Dictionaries also say the word jig has been used as the short form of a racial slur against blacks.
He said what he meant. He may not have meant to say it in that manner, but he said it, and it's offensive.
Scandal.
It's such a downer. Because the Republicans accusing the Democrats of voter fraud is such a real story. And that's not. You know?
No, I know, it's not. But
yeah.
That was amusing.
Yeah, it's not like he said we might be tempted to G-grow the numbers. You know? I mean, for the love of God, it's a word. And again, it makes it much harder to defend the seriousness of the issue.
Right.
You know, it is a word. And yeah, you know what? A jig is much more likely to have been pejorative. If you say about a black guy that he was, you know, the way that Rick Sanchez said that cotton picking, which was, you know, despite Rick Sanchez's nonsense later, I still totally innocent. Right. I think. But if you said, oh, some black guy trying to get around the issue, in which you've heard politicians say he was dancing a jig around the issue, that's uncomfortable, right? But he didn't even use the shortened form of the word.
Right. He said that they're trying to jigger the numbers.
Try to jigger the numbers. That's what jigger means, manipulate the numbers.
But you know, it's crazy how the media works, because even after watching that news report and even after realizing that that was a ridiculous news report that we shouldn't take seriously, I feel uncomfortable saying jigger. Because they've somehow made that word negative.
There was where I grew up, right across the street from right next to, not even across the street, like a 20-foot walk from my friend Mike Rosamond's house. I spent a lot of time. Mike's one of my closest friends, still is. There was a long drugstore in Washington D.C. It'd been there forever, called Higgers. Yeah, I mean, what? And you couldn't. You drive by it, you'd be like, really, really. Like, no other name in the family. Like, you have to continue to call it that. Like, you couldn't just think of, I don't know, take a dictionary and pick a word.
Right.
Yeah. Slocums. Walmart. You know. Foam drugs. Just pick a word. Clock drugs. Pick something.
Right.
Other than, I just thought, and it's gone now. I don't know whether they finally sold, but they didn't change the name. It's like a it's like a CVS now. They
I see.
A big company, but it was always a little, and it had a huge sign right on Connecticut Avenue in D.C. And it was just, and you could either, like you say, it's uncomfortable. You could either pretend that it was just nothing, or you could talk, but you couldn't even. You were almost free. Let's go to I'll grab it at the drugstore. Right? Like you couldn't. Yeah. By the way, until this story, I forgot all about Higgers. The worst. So stupid.
Wait, what state was that in?
No, Washington D.C.
Oh wow.
No, I mean almost, which makes it. That was where I grew up, which almost makes it worse. Yeah, I mean, well, it's bad anywhere. But what is? And I couldn't. And obviously, everyone thought it, and no one ever talked about it.
Right.
Let's bring the black guy in for a quick second. Can you, first of all, JR, did it even occur to you the first time you heard that? I know you put those together, but when you were listening to, like, if you hear the word jigger, does it?
No, and actually it was the same thought, because as soon as, the news report was going and they were talking to people, and I said, it was starting to come as like, I really hope they don't go to this.
Right, yeah.
I saw it coming,
Yeah.
As it was approaching, you can kind of see where the offensive language is going to jump. And I was like, dude, you already had a valid point.
Exactly.
Right.
Now you're screwing it up.
Yeah, but here's the thing, and Anna's right too. Like, let's just say manipulate. Like, it's not that big it's not a word that we're really desperately need.
I've never used that word at all.
No, it's totally generational. Like I'm probably JR, have you ever, anybody ever uses it?
Jigger?
Yeah.
No.
Like when you said it for the first time, before we even went to that news report, I'm like, jigger, that's a weird word, but okay, whatever.
I didn't even know it. I didn't even, because again, literally I would say I'm the age, like right around 35 and up, like it just started to die out for obvious reasons. And it's like the word snigger. Do you know that word?
No, that's not a word.
It is. It means, it literally means snicker.
How's it spelled?
The way you think it's spelled.
Really?
Yeah. And
that's such a wow.
Yeah, and it's like it's exactly like he would say, "Oh, that joke's not worth laughing at. It's worth snickering at."
Snickering, right?
Right, but or you would use this word. That's what it always meant.
Wow.
And you'll see it sometimes. You read books like novels, and he said, I don't even want to say it again. And you'd be like, oh, he did, snickering at the comment, but using the other word, you'd be like, wow. But I think we just need to let it go. Like, we have snicker and we have manipulate.
Right.
That's it. We'll just use those words.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think we're okay with that. Because now I'm looking at look at the word I'm talking about. Like, really? We need that word in the dictionary? S, N, and then spelling it out the rest? Come on. Like, we can't even say it. We're doing a show where we were covering it. We're allowed to say it.
Right, of course.
But we can't say it.
Yeah, look, that word.
Not because nobody's going to get mad at us, just because it seems.
It's just such an uncomfortable word.
It's such an uncomfortable word. Yeah. Anyway, it's awesome. But anyway, and it's Giannoulias, Ted Giannoulias.
That's
Alex Giannoulias, excuse me.
That's a difficult name to pronounce.
And I was mispronouncing it, so I was right to stop myself. A close race there, winnable, I think, for the Democrats, just because it's Illinois, and we should win that race. But again, it's one of those it's Barack Obama's seat, for crying out loud. The notion that Mark Kirk is going to win it, frustrating, disappointing. All right, when we come back, lasers.
I don't know what you did, boy, but you had it. And I've been hooked ever since.
All right, we're back. Sexting. So, Michael, did he mention this? because he saw 2 people sexting in a day, like
Okay.
or in a 2-day period. So he goes to a restaurant, Piccolino, a wonderful restaurant. He goes with my brother, and there's like a glass wall, sort of like between us and the bullpen area there, where the immigrants sit, and he makes me laugh every time. So and so the guy on the other side of it can't quite see, and he's at lunch with people, and he's leaning back, right? And Michael's on the other side, and he's like graphically sexting, like, oh yeah, it's so good when you use your tongue, and and I wanted to, like, totally graphic. And Michael can read every last part of it. He's like, this is unbelievably awesome. And the guy's like talking with his friends, but Michael's right over his shoulder.
Oh my God! First of all, Michael has amazing vision because
No, but he's saying, like, I know what he's talking about. Like, you could be like as close as I am to you with a glass wall, and if I'm here, I'd be like, look at Anna, sexting with a stranger. And then next to this woman on the plane, he meets the woman on the plane, and he looks over, and as they're taxiing, I can't wait to see you, and I'm gonna stick my in your.
I'm way too paranoid. Like, there's no way I would ever sext. Maybe I'm an old granny. Maybe I'm not adventurous enough. But I always assume that if I sext, everyone's going to see it at some point in my life.
But I mean, first of all, why would that be a problem? I mean, you're not gonna sext like, I can't wait to be in bed with you because you're not a Jew. Like, I mean, you're not going to do anything that's like really going to cause a problem later.
No, but it might be a little too dirty, and I don't want people to look at me and think, oh, she's dirty.
Yeah, but they're going to think, but I mean, so that means you could do that. You just won't write it down, but you'll say it.
No! You crazy?
I thought I was going to trick her. Thought I had her.
Because actually you did. You see how horrible that lie was?
Her lie? Yeah, totally, because she's like, right, I don't want people to think I'm dirty because I am dirty. Right.
What's sex?
Yeah. But I mean, it's
That'll
good.
get
You
me in
should be.
trouble.
You should be.
I should be dirty?
Yeah, first of all girls
I should be dirty for my significant other, but not for everyone else to see.
Right, but you would theoretically, you're not going to sext JR. Well, you're not going to sext, well, I don't know.
Okay, look.
Knowing you, I don't know.
Look, this is my crazy theory, okay?
Okay.
So my theory is, if I were to make the mistake to sext, and I'm talking about real sexting, like sending photos of body parts, talking about the dirty things I want to do, that kind of stuff.
I feel like photos aren't a real part of it. I mean, I guess they are. I always feel like it's just the sort of the back and forth. I don't know, though.
Okay, so sexting sans naked pictures.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, let's do that. I just assume that one day, I don't even know. I don't know if I'm going to become someone in life, but assuming that I do, what if, like, an ex-boyfriend releases those sex to, like, some website, and then people know that, like, I want to do it here and there, and and then you're gonna read it, and then Jake is gonna read it,
yeah, and we're gonna talk about it,
and it's gonna be embarrassing.
It's gonna be hilarious.
No.
But first of all, stop being such a whore.
I know, it's really hard.
Secondly, the Jerry Brown, Meg Whitman whore scandal drives me crazy.
You didn't think it was scandalous?
No, I don't even think it's worth bringing up because
Right.
it was used. He didn't call her that. He used it in the context that we all use it, like they're a publicity whore,
Right.
which you could and do say about men. And even if you only say it about women, which we don't, it still isn't the same thing. It means selling yourself out for a cause or a thing,
Right.
not sleeping with a person for money.
Right.
Like,
no.
we got that. It's just it's fake outrage. And then the other thing that I don't understand and why I thought of it in regard to your when you get caught with the dirty sexts years from now. Like, here's what: suppose you run for Congress in 15 years and your filthy sexts to Ladis come out, right? First of all, lucky him. But you would say, hey, this was a boyfriend, and I was in love with him at the time, and I wanted to, excite him before we, were together intimately. And, and that would be awesome. And why Meg Whitman, for example, when she's asked a question that should never be asked in this country, ever, and it's disgusting that a reporter asked it. I don't really blame the reporter, but when a reporter says to the California Republican gubernatorial candidate, and it would be true if they asked anybody this question, it has nothing to do with her being a Republican, although the Republicans are the only ones who get themselves into the example I'm about to give. Why, when you found out that her former housekeeper, that she was here illegally, did you not report her?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Shit. Because I like her. Because she worked for me. Because my children like her. Because my family likes her. Why did I didn't report her? Well, you know, the Nazis, the Jews, it was illegal to harbor Jews. When you found out there were Jews up there, why didn't you tell the Nazis? I'm not equating us with that, but that sort of hideous reporting people. Like, I don't know. I got news for you. I would never report anyone, ever, in a billion years.
Right.
Neither would you.
Right.
Ever. Unless they were Turkish.
Oh, Turkish,
Right.
absolutely.
Who reports people? And she has to scramble around that answer. And she should say, she's a member of my family. Reporting her was not an option. I maybe should have investigated. I mean, first of all, she pretends not to know. But if you did know, I would have investigated it to help her get legal status. But reporting her, not an option. Like, I don't know why you can't say that. I don't believe that you're going to lose. I think you're going to win some people over by saying that. And first of all, and then it's honest. And then secondly, why doesn't she just say, instead of, look, yeah, she was here illegally, and my views have changed on that. Immigration has become a much more important debate, and my views have evolved, and I no longer think it's acceptable to employ someone who has illegal status. At the time, I felt differently, and things have grown for me, and they've changed, and I'm now in this campaign. I realize what an important issue it is, and we can't do that. Like, what's wrong? Why can't you just say that?
I think that they get so caught up in the fact that they got caught that their whole strategy is always deny, deny, deny.
I agree, but even you're right.
Right.
But even so, why doesn't she just make that, like, right off the bat? Yeah, I evolved.
Yeah, that's the best way to handle it. The honesty. I mean, if she handled it that way, I would respect her a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, but for some reason, candidates are afraid to be honest with the voters. They think that, oh, shoot, I got caught in this situation. I got caught in a lie. Let me just find a way to act like I'm the good guy and I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know she was an illegal immigrant.
Yeah, just look, I changed my mind on this issue. I grew. I evolved emotionally and intellectually on it. And then when they keep asking, but you did this, you'd be like, I think I answered that. You can keep asking it. But I felt one way. Now I feel a different way. When I was 11, I wanted to be a fireman. Then I grew up, I didn't so much want to be a fireman. Am I a hypocrite? You know, what do you want from me? I don't know. I think it would work if the person's credible and they don't have hair that looks like Ben Nelson.
All right, let's do this sexting story.
Oh, I thought we were done.
We didn't even introduce the story yet.
Oh, okay.
But, all right, so Apple has been awarded a patent for this software for the iPhone. And what this software would do is it would allow parents to censor their kids' texts.
Right.
Basically, they wouldn't be able to sext. Okay.
How would they do that?
Okay, so let me try to explain it to you, and this is from TechCrunch, all right? If the control contains unauthorized text, the control application may alert the user, the administrator, or other designated individuals of the presence of such text. The control application may require the user to replace the unauthorized text or may automatically delete the text or the entire communication. So basically, let's say you're a kid, you have an iPhone, and you're about to send a text out. Your parent can read that text. And if your parent disagrees with whatever you're texting, they can delete it or they can stop that text from actually going through. And, you know, I'm not technologically savvy, so I don't know exactly how that works, but this is the idea behind it.
Yeah. I don't know.
You know, with any type of technology, there's always room for some sort of violation. There's always room for people who are going to misuse it, right? But this whole teen sexting thing is a serious issue.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. I mean,
Why?
we did a story. Let me give you one example.
I'm not saying it's not. I just, I don't take it at face value that it's a big problem.
It is a problem. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me now, but there was a report that came out that showed the exact number of teens that admit to sexting. And it was a huge majority. Like, they didn't think it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And then there was another story earlier this year of a high school girl who was sexting with her boyfriend, and then her and her boyfriend broke up, and then he shared the sex with other people, and everyone was calling her a whore and calling her terrible names, and then she went and killed herself.
Yeah, all right. That's a terrible story.
Right.
And and that's a bullying issue that I guess people are taking on. That also makes me a little uncomfortable. But I mean, kids have made fun of other kids about sex forever. I'm not. Look, I would parent against this. I would tell my kid not to. But is it really? I mean, the kids are going to. So okay, you keep them from sexting. But they still are going to talk about sex when they're together. They're still going to talk on the phone about sex, so they'll have phone sex.
Yeah, I'm not saying
you're going to prevent that too.
No. I'm not saying that this is going to stop them from having sex, right? Or talking about sex. I don't even necessarily think it's a bad thing when teens talk about sex. But it's a bad thing when teens are sending one another like racy photos, nude photos. And this application would stop that. You see? And I can see a positive use for this.
Sure, I guess. I mean, you can see theoretically there's still ways around. The photos I got, kids, the 14-year-old kids should not be sending each other naked pictures. I don't really know how I guess this could help stop it. I guess it's good. Mainly, I would scare the kids into believing, look, if you send this, at some point, it's going to get out.
Right.
Like, give them examples of how this got released, and unless you expect everyone else to see what you've written and see what you've done, it would be great if things could get deleted automatically. Like if there was like a 5-minute shelf life for stuff. So if I wanted to show what a raging sort of wild slut you were, like I'd get the sexts that I get from you, and then, but I'd like have to show everybody in the office like right away. Look what I edited. Look. Oh, it's gone. Oh.
See, that's the day that I'm afraid of. That's why I'll never sext.
Your messages are safe with me. I've never gotten a sext.
You've never gotten a sext?
I guess I've gotten a preview.
Like a racy text message?
Yeah, no, you know what? I guess I have. It wasn't like a back and forth because the back and forth is brutal. What are you doing now? Typing. Yeah, that's what I'm doing now. Is your yeah? No, because this isn't a big turn on. But I guess I've gotten that, like, what do you, I can't wait to see you to, this, and then I'd be like, I'm looking forward to it.
That's your reply?
Right.
I'm looking forward to it.
He replies with, that would be nice.
Right.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
My loins are ready for that.
Yeah. Thank you, darling. That sounds wonderful. Afterwards, perhaps we can get a bite to eat. Yeah. I'd like to be asleep by 10:15. I have a big day tomorrow. Oh, what are you wearing?
All right. DC public schools are under fire for a questionnaire that was sent out to 7th graders at Hardley Middle School.
Hardy. That was right. I went to Georgetown Day School, which was right next to Hardy.
Is it Hardy or Hardley?
Hardy. H-A-R-D-Y.
Oh, I don't know why I wrote Hardley. That's weird.
It's Hardy, and it's right next to GDS, like literally across the street. And so we would take the bus home with the public school kids. Didn't care for that. Dangerous. But who went to, I'm kidding, but no, they obviously it was the same bus route, but obviously it was fine. The right next to, so who went to Hardy was Amy Carter, was Jimmy Carter's kid, and she was frequently on the bus. So not only did she go to public school, she took public transportation home sometimes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, so Hardy Middle School is in a little bit of trouble because of a sex survey that they passed out to their 7th graders. Now, this was meant to do an evaluation of the 7th graders for their sex ed class, just to see how much they know about sexuality, how much they know about contraceptives, things like that. And parents are livid about it. And we have a video explaining why. So let's go to the video and we'll talk about it.
All right.
Part of a sexual education program, students at Hardy Middle School in Georgetown were given a controversial test to find out their sexual knowledge. Some of the questions on this anonymous survey were basic, asking students their age and gender. But others, given to students as young as 11 years old, were significantly more graphic. In one section first published by the Georgetown Dish, students were asked, how sure are you that you can name all 4 body fluids that can transmit HIV? Another question asked, how sure are you that you can correctly put a condom on yourself or your partner.
They're much too young to be asked those kinds of questions. I think that if parents were not alerted ahead of time, that it was also an error.
Is it appropriate at this age? I would think so. But I would prefer me as a parent to discuss it with her first.
In a statement to News 4, D.C. Public Schools addresses the controversy, saying, quote, "Unfortunately, the opt-out letter to parents regarding this unit in the health class went home on the same day the assessment was administered. As a result, there was not enough time to allow for parental response before the unit began," end quote. However, Metro Teen Aids, the nonprofit organization that conducts the survey, says despite the mistake, this information is critical for teenagers to learn.
We want to make sure is that we're getting results, and so we do the pre and post test survey as well as a follow-up survey to make sure kids are really getting the information that they need. They have the skills, they know how to use them, and they can protect themselves in the city that has the highest AIDS and HIV case rate in the entire nation.
All right, a couple of things. First of all, that guy's really little. You know, I mean, you don't get
point number one.
Yeah. Well, the important thing is that we get the information from the kids as quickly as possible because. So I enjoyed that. I love that the letter went out on the same day.
No, I mean, come on. That was the biggest mistake.
Yeah.
You can't do that because there are parents, of course, who want to opt out.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, I don't think they should opt out, but it's their decision.
Sure,
it's their
of course.
choice.
Yeah. And then they're like admission. They're like it went out on the same day, so there wasn't sufficient time. There was no time. It had already happened when they got the letter. Yeah, that's sufficient time. Oh, I don't think. Oh, you already did. All right. Well, fine. It's not quite fair. And I think 11 is too young. I think we can all sort of shake our hands and
They were
agree.
7th graders. Some of them were
It
11.
said on the report some as young as 11. I don't know.
Look, in 7th grade.
I guess the smarty pantses could have been 11 if they'd skipped a grade.
Right, exactly. But 7th grade, most of them are 12.
12 and 13.
And I think 12 and 13, your ass needs sex ed. And just speaking from
Yeah, I
personal
agree.
experience, when I was in middle school, there were people in 6th grade having sex.
Yeah.
So sex ed
Hey,
is
JR, when she was
effective.
in middle school, there were people in 6th grade having sex.
Yeah.
People.
I was not
yeah.
having sex in 6th grade.
I have
okay.
a friend. No, I totally agree. 7th grade, they got to, especially in a city with the highest HIV rate among teens. Yeah, look, you got to find it out, and the parents shouldn't opt out. But I guess obviously you have to give them an opportunity, up to a point. By the way, like once the kid's 14, I wouldn't even give you an opportunity.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'd be like, well, then take your kid out of school.
I'm all for sex ed. I think that
Yeah.
sex ed is so important and crucial, but when it's comprehensive sex ed like that, I think that if it's a minor, you should definitely let the parent know ahead of time.
Yeah, here's what you let them know ahead of time. We teach sex ed. Like when the school year begins. Like we teach sex ed.
Right.
And your kid's going to have to take it. Okay? Are we all cool? We're going to do it carefully and thoughtfully, and we have this expert coming in and doing. But that's that. That's what we teach.
I kind of like that, but it's unfair for the conservative parents, but who cares about them anyway?
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, I guess that if you tell them in the beginning, then they can opt out. You can take your kid out that day, you can call in sick.
Yeah, that's true. You could do that.
I suppose. We'll tell you, here's the day you want to keep your kid out, and they'll be ostracized. People will point at them. But go ahead.
All right, let's take a break, and when we come back, Starbucks has a new business model that I'm dying to share with you guys.
They don't need one. Their current business model is awesome.
We'll be back on the Young Turks.
I bounce in the club, so the hoes call me Rocket.
All right, we're back. So we finished. Oh, the Starbucks. This is a fascinating story and a horrible idea. What is the idea?
All right, Starbucks is thinking about asking their baristas to slow down while
good.
they're making your coffee.
It's a good idea.
Terrible idea.
Yeah, I think we're getting, Anna, too many stories in. I think people need to appreciate the story. So let's let the Starbucks story sit for a while. Tell me again about the story, but take twice as much time.
All right. So, Starbucks thinking about slowing down and taking longer with their drinks.
Come on! It's a horrible idea.
It's really bad.
Yeah.
And especially for people who are in a rush to get to work.
99% of people go into Starbucks. I mean, it's like, I'm going to go to Starbucks. What's good here? You know why you're going.
It's such a bad idea. Okay, first of all, I gotta let them know exactly what Starbucks wants their baristas to do. So right now, a lot of baristas multitask, i.e., they make 5 drinks at a time. Okay,
Right.
And that's so you can get
That's
the customers
they probably
going.
don't even make that many, but they might make 3.
Right, they'll
Yeah.
make 3 at a time. You know, you'll have a drink
They
blending in the back.
They got 2 espresso machines going, and the milk is filled. Like they've constantly got frothed hot milk ready to add to the lattes and cappuccinos.
What they do is they have a huge pitcher of milk that they steam, and then they use that pitcher for drinks, right?
Yeah,
Until that pitcher runs out, and then they steam
By the way,
a new one.
that pitcher runs out generally when things are busy in like a minute.
In a minute,
Yeah,
it
I mean,
runs
3
out really
drinks and
fast.
it's done. 4 drinks and it's done. You start another pitcher.
Exactly. And what
Maybe
Starbucks
10
now,
minutes it sticks around at the most.
Right.
I would think.
And now what they want to do is make the baristas steam milk for each individual drink.
Oh my God.
And for the drinks that ask for foam, like the customers who want foam, they have to wait even longer because you need to take that steam milk and let it sit for a while so the foam can rise to the top.
Well, don't you? I thought the foam. I thought you just did the top.
Right. No, you can do that, but you also have to wait a little while so
right?
it gets like the perfect, creamy, delicious texture.
Because you worked at Coffee Bean.
I was a barista.
So the idea is that because they ongoing effort to make stores operate more efficiently. But that's like the Bushian. Like no, it's inefficiently.
Exactly.
It's literally inefficiently. Because there's been a clamor, they claim, that the mechanized process, it says here in this story, has removed the romance of a coffee shop, which I don't not understand that sentiment. Like a coffee shop is supposed to smell good. There's supposed to be a feel to it. You might want to sit and drink your coffee. It's not a fast food restaurant.
Right.
And that's important. It isn't. That's not what they want. That said, yesterday I'm in Starbucks near my new home in Santa Monica, and maybe they're already doing this there because all of a sudden there was only one person ahead of me. Maybe somebody had already ordered, but only one person ahead of me in line. And it took easily 6.5 minutes to get my drink. And there were 3 people behind. And then the woman who came in after me and the person who came in after her, they took a long time too. And they were out of their minds.
I know.
They were like, what? And they kept turning to me. They're like, you were here before me. You don't even have your drink. What's going on? Where's my coffee? Ma'am, do you have a cappuccino? I had a cappuccino. I had a non-fat cappuccino with 1 equal. Where is that? You know, I'm like, well, but the romance is back. I mean, I don't know, man. It seems like a horrible, horrible idea. You imagine people like at lunch, like who go to lunch and then want to get a coffee at the end of their lunch, or people on their way to work. On their way to work, and they got to wait 11 minutes instead of 4?
Look, it's a true luxury when you go to a coffee shop with
yes.
the intent to relax and sit there and have a good time. But 95% of people that go to coffee shops go there for the wham, bam, thank you, ma'am aspect of it. I want my coffee. I want to get to work. I got to get back home to work on a project, whatever it is.
Got to get back home. Got to get back home to work on a project. What the hell kind of example is that? I got to go to work. I got to pick up my kids. I got to get home to work on a project. Yeah.
I don't know. That just came out.
Good example.
I don't know. Just why don't people just calm down then? I mean, I don't know.
I agree.
You have to walk in and go, ah, because then the problem is, and maybe you've experienced this. I've never worked in a coffee shop. I've been in 5 of them, but then if people rush around throwing shit around and make you go crazy, and somebody's like, oh my God, there's something off. There's something, you don't put the latte and the foam and the steam and the shit on top right, and people bitch and complain about how fast they do because they fuck it up, you know?
I agree.
Either way, it seems like, I don't know. Maybe,
But people aren't rushing around. It's just a process by which you don't have to overly wait. And no one's, if you have to wait an average, if what was 3 minutes turns into 8 minutes, for people who are, you're not rushing, but you know I'm going to go to Starbucks. It takes about 5 minutes while I'm there. You factor that into your ride. You factor it into everything. It's a luxury when you can stay. It's also a luxury when you're not under a huge time constraint. Like you get to a Starbucks at 4, and you know you have to be somewhere at 5. It doesn't matter whether you get there at 4:45 or 4:38, and so you don't care. But most people are going to care, and this is a horrible idea.
Yeah, well, coffee drinkers also need better PR because I hate this commercial. The McDonald's commercial, the guy gets up and he hates everybody.
Totally.
He's like, don't.
Yeah.
His roommate's like, hey, how you doing this morning? Don't talk to me.
Don't talk to me. I need my coffee.
And then he goes outside. It's a nice lady walking dog. Oh, don't talk to me. Oh,
Yeah.
don't talk to
And
me.
like on the subway, he's like,
He's an asshole. He's an asshole. I was like, this is not helping you sell this coffee because nobody wants to be that asshole.
No, nobody wants to be that asshole. And like, if this is how you are, if this is this guy's life, buy a fucking coffee maker. I can't bear that ad. Like, what's his fucking problem?
I hate that guy. He's never going to get another acting role.
Yeah.
If him taking that, it was probably a nice break, but you're screwing yourself.
I'm going to go to Walmart, buy him a coffee maker. It's $29. He's in charge of his own coffee. Yeah, that guy. Have you seen the ad?
I don't think
Shush! I need my coffee.
Are we looking for it? Because I really want to see it now.
Oh my God! It's the guy. JR is so right. He's so annoying. I hate that ad.
I can't wait to see this ad.
Yeah,
now.
and the guy's just, for the love of God, don't leave your house without a cup of coffee. Thank God people appreciate this. I've tried that out. I've said that to other people, and it doesn't seem to carry much weight. All right, what's next? We'll get to this guy as soon as it's ready.
All right, we have a sad story.
Well,
actually, we have the video.
Good transition. This is a sad story because someone had to get home and complete a project.
Don't even talk to me until I have my coffee. Okay.
Oh, hey, Tim.
Sorry, I haven't had my coffee yet. No.
Morning. Welcome to McDonald's. Can I interest you in a
Not before I have my coffee.
premium roast coffee for just $1?
Talk to me.
Introducing McDonald's new $1 menu at breakfast.
He goes into McDonald's and he was looking for something else on the menu?
Each every day, and you'll see why nobody makes breakfast like McDonald's.
I'd like a sausage
Like
muffin
a
with egg. Do you want? No!
That was a hilarious commercial.
Cash or credit?
No, then he's nice at the end, and everybody who walks by and he's like, "Oh, he's talking about everybody's nice scarf. Ooh, nice day out, isn't it?" I'm like, hope everybody says, "Fuck you, dude."
Yeah.
Get the fuck away from me.
Yeah. All right. Jesus. Yeah. Who wants to live near that guy? And this cute girl says hi to him on the bus.
Right.
First of all, there are all these open seats, and he sits next to her on the bus.
Right, and then gives her the hand.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, I walk to you on the bus. You're like, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, and she's like trapped on the bus. It's like those kids where that crazy guy came on the bus and threatened all of them.
Oh my God.
All right, so let's go to the depressing story.
Okay, so Wicked Pictures and Vivid Entertainment has stopped production for all of their porn films because one of their porn actors tested positive for HIV.
Yeah, this seems to happen every year or so.
Yeah, actually, there have been 9 cases of HIV in the porn industry since 2004. So the government has been wanting to regulate porn in a way where the actors would have to wear protection. So the male actors would have to wear condoms. But then Vivid Entertainment, Wicked Pictures, they all agree that if we were to make our male actors wear condoms, then the audience would be turned off.
Right. I mean, I don't think that's true.
I don't either. I mean, you think people are going to stop watching porn because someone's wearing a rubber?
Well, I mean, for some things, yes. But but I think their fear is that then as soon as there's a renegade company that doesn't do it, then they'll lose them to them, which might be true. So you'd think the answer would be that if these are responsible companies, that then, and I don't think I think there's unquestionably responsible people in this multi-billion-dollar industry, right? So then the idea would be that the good companies regulate it. That's all. And I know they test a lot, I think.
Yeah, they do. All of the actors are tested for HIV, AIDS, all sexually transmitted diseases prior to acting in porn films.
Yeah, and so then there's this horrible process where they got to find the people who've been with this performer. We don't even know if it's a man or a woman.
Right, that's
It'll
true.
come out because because there are too many people now who are going to get exposed down the chain.
Right.
I mean, they're going to call all these people who've worked with this person, and somebody is going to tell a reporter, yeah, they're asking about Anna Kasparian, It's always very easy with you. Anyway, obviously, it's a very sad story.
It is a sad story. All right, you know what? Let's do one more story because I don't want to end on a downer.
Yeah.
There is a beauty clinic in Estonia that has used an offensive marketing technique.
Okay.
All right. We have a video showing what their marketing technique is. They have 2 models walking around, basically endorsing this beauty clinic.
Right.
One of the models is thin. The other model is
larger.
Larger.
Than the other.
Than the other one. The skinny model has a before shirt on. The larger model has an no.
And this is the larger one has the other way around, before and after, and then they
they're advertising their liposuction service.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's go to the video. Okay, so people are saying this is insanely offensive. How can you do that? I just don't know why the before model would agree to it.
Money.
Yeah, but I would feel so terrible doing that.
Yeah, well, first of all, they wouldn't ask you to be before.
What are you talking about?
I'm saying you wouldn't be the before, you'd be the after.
I wouldn't be the after, you're crazy.
Well, you wouldn't be the before.
Maybe.
No, please.
But who cares? That's unimportant. But
don't pretend you don't think that's important.
Well, I'm going to for the sake of the show.
All right.
But no, yes, I think it's kind of offensive. It's kind of poking fun at larger girls. But then when it comes to that model, she's the one who agreed to it. She's
also, it's liposuction. That's the whole point. I mean, it is a little offensive, but we don't have a right not to be offended. And we certainly, and I don't think Latvians have that right either. You know, so, I mean, get beyond it. It's a little offensive, but we just did the story. It's obviously had its desired effect, and that's what liposuction's for, and that's why people get it. And, you know, it's an unfortunate process, I think, but, you know, what are you going to do?
All right. Well, we got to take a break, and when we come back, we have an hour of political news for you guys.
You can go chill out and steal me. That's paper stack.